and welcome to 5-inch Floppy on GameArena.com.au. I'm Junglist, and we've been playing PlayStation All-Stars Battle Royale. A smorgasbord of iconic PlayStation characters from Kratos to Parappa, Sackboy to Sweet Tooth, all thrown into a deathmatch type environment very reminiscent of Smash Brothers, but adding its own magic as well. Director Omar Kendall was kind enough to speak to us ahead of the game's release.
PlayStation All-Stars, just by virtue of having that title, I think it makes a lot of sense that you're going to have a lot of strong first-party characters, but at the same time, I think I certainly associate a lot of really strong third-party IP with the PlayStation brand. I think that's actually one of the coolest things about PlayStation is it is a home for all games and not just games that Sony makes. We wanted to hit as many sort of titles as we possibly could, especially with the character roster, because I think that's going to be for a lot of players their most sort of visceral manifestation of a character of an IP, of a game that they love is going to be in the character. I mean, we obviously have an item system where we're hitting a whole bunch of a different IP in our levels, incorporate different IP as well, but I think the characters are where a lot of the fans are sort of putting a lot of their energy.
All-Stars Battle Royale is a game that isn't afraid to pile on the silly.
You've been practicing.
But it can be competitive as well. Seth Killian, a Capcom veteran, is designing it, and Kendall himself was involved with several fighters, including the UFC series. So how serious is this aiming to be?
I definitely think that when they were assembling the team to make PlayStation All-Stars that they specifically went after fighting game guys. Inputs are really simple, like up, down, left, right, in combination with buttons. But the underlying strategy of the game is very sound and is sort of rooted in sort of the classic fighting game traditions. I mean, things like, frame counts and animation lengths, reaction lengths, and things like that are still very sort of traditionally constructed. And of course, you mentioned Seth. Balance is always a big thing for him, character viability, and that's definitely something that he's been able to interject and help us out with, making sure that the roster is as widely viable as possible. We've definitely got a sort of wide range of accessibility. I think the best example of that is probably a character like Dante from DMC Devil May Cry. Dante's from a game that is used to asking a lot from its players.
Heads up!
It really allows for player creativity, and kind of the sort of limits of that system are really dependent on what the player is willing to commit. And so we applied a very similar thinking to his design in PlayStation All-Stars. So we implemented a specific system just for him where he can cancel his buttons into one another. So his square buttons cancel into his triangle buttons, and his triangle buttons cancel into his circle buttons. And this is something that no other character can take advantage of. And it really creates this open-ended combo system where we really don't know what the limits are. With a character like Dante, we think we can get away with that because we're betting that if a player is attracted to Dante as a character, it's probably because they have some familiarity with him in his game, and we want it to be very true to that game. Sackboy was a character who, when was first implemented, I felt personally didn't have a style that really spoke to Sackboy's true nature. He's kind of a lighthearted, happy-go-lucky kind of character, and I don't really imagine him getting in there and like punching and kicking in sort of close melee range like a Kratos or something like that. So we really very premeditatively designed a more long-range, keep-away strategy for that character because we felt it was right for his personality.
There are a lot of factors to think about if they're balancing this for competitive play. Not just things like combo strength, but utility things like when attacks should reach both sides of the character. Very important in a free-for-all game. And with so many characters and moves, strategies will probably emerge that might seem overpowered at first, but aren't really. It's a tricky business.
So we're anticipating it as well. We've built into the game a telemetry system where even now in our closed beta, we have data of every single match of PlayStation All-Stars that's ever been played, every character that's ever been selected, every move that's ever been performed. I do think games need a bit of time to settle and for the real sort of meta to develop. I think Marvel vs. Capcom 3 might be a good example of that, where things that you thought were really strong on day one end up not being viable at all sort of on day 1,000. And I think we're going to play a kind of wait and see as well. We definitely plan on making corrections to the game when we see fit. but we're not going to sort of leap out there and overreact and make changes without good hard data sort of going on.
There are a few solid differences between this and Smash Brothers. Characters can only be knocked out by a super move, of which there are 3 levels. You build your super meter by connecting with attacks, the same way you would make enemies weaker in Smash Brothers. But there's a fundamental difference between making enemies weaker and making yourself stronger. Here, the focus is on you, not them, and KOs can still be stolen, just differently.
I liken it to kind of like a sport where, maybe like basketball or football or something like that, where you're moving the ball upfield. That's sort of fighting to gain your energy. And then once the ball is in scoring position, then sort of you take your shots on goal, and that's kind of performing your supers. Each character has 3 different supers, level 1, level 2, and level 3. And they get sort of stronger and better at killing the higher that you go. So a level 1 super might not be as strong. It's still cheaper in terms of energy cost, and is maybe good at killing like one guy, but your level 3 supers are drastically more powerful and are good at killing 3, 4, maybe 5 players. So it's a matter of meter management, which I think is really traditional in fighting games, sort of maybe expressed in a new and unique way.
Remove them from my property or I'll...
We had a lot of fun with those level 3 supers. For all the game's competitive pedigree, these are all about fun. For a few seconds, the match is turned on its head and everyone has to run from one player. Although they take so long to build up, in a serious match you'd want to rely on the earlier supers. They cover less area and there's potential for them to be interrupted, but they build a lot quicker. All in all, the super system can be seen as a metaphor for the game. Competitively capable, but the hilarity is there for those who seek it.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Fun.
Thank you.
Our main online mode is a tournament mode that is ranked, that you earn points for. We have both free-for-all and 2v2 tournaments, which 2v2 for us is super fun. You sort of figure out the best combination of 2 characters and their sort of skills and how to leverage that, against your opponents. All ranked and all tracked, and we think it's super fun. It's not as super competitive as maybe it sounds for everyone. If you just want to jump in and have some fun, I think tournament mode will provide that for you.
That was a letdown.
We're not going to try to sort of cram this game down people's throats. This is actually some of the anxiety I had this summer when we showed the game at E3. Sorry, not E3, at Evolution, the fighting game championships in Las Vegas. I think a lot of people could misinterpret that as us sort of trying to insist that this game is competitive and insist that people take it seriously. And we're really not trying to do that. Obviously, we're big fighting game fans, and we built the game in a very particular way by virtue of that. But we really want the community to decide how they want to treat this game. So if they want to develop communities around it and they want to start holding tournaments and really taking this game seriously, we're going to do everything we can to support that and to encourage that.
Our thanks to Omar Kendall. You'll catch us next week on the Floppy, same time, same place.